they're starting to fumble, whether they're starting to fall. Is there hope on the horizon? And just delve into all aspects of it. And before we do that, Aaron, let us know a little bit about yourself. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am Aaron, aka Mr. Let Go, and I started all of this off as a coach, and I help people let go of childhood trauma. And to a certain degree, the things that I'm talking about now, whether it's in a political world or the Charlie Kirk saga,
Mm.
it's kind of like the same thing. A lot of the different things that have been going on in politics affect our home life. It affects our family life. So everything is connected, you know. So me being this person that comes from the relationship space, all of this is interconnected with everything else.
Yeah. You see, I think with Charlie, Epstein and Erika Kirk, I'm
Mhm.
excited for to hear what you have to say. You were talking to about before the show how you've covered Erika Kirk and the Epstein files, connections, and things like this for a while now, right?
Yes, I would say for years. Like I talked about the Diddy case also, and the Diddy case has a lot to do with the Epstein files to a certain degree. Like he went to prison for trafficking, right? So, and to a certain degree, because that's kind of like how I started off talking about things like this. I started paying attention. Like this isn't just Diddy doing this and that to Cassie. There's something else going on. And I found out about the tunnels and I started going down the rabbit hole or whatever. And I found out, or according to, you know, everything that came out, it was trafficking. And that's what he's in prison for. So after that, I started seeing patterns. So when the Epstein files came out, I was like, this is very Diddy like. And then I realized, no, it seemed like Diddy was following a pattern that Epstein was following. So now I'm starting to see that the Epstein files is the Epstein patterns. Then I started looking at Erika Kirk and how she's operating, and every single person that she operates with is in something strange. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, there is a Epstein pattern to all
Mm-hmm.
of this. So I look at Epstein patterns and not just the Epstein files.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you know, it's interesting. I'm gonna definitely coin your term with you there of the
Yeah.
Epstein patterns. I think that's a fantastic way of saying it because I've been talking about it for weeks. Jeffrey Epstein, Mark Dutroux, and Diddy, all cases where there is clear signs of a massive global conspiracy and group of individuals to facilitate this. But hey, as long as it's just one guy who's a pervert, you're going to, you know, they're happy to let the case go through. But the
Yeah.
minute they get a whiff of this larger organized criminal scale, things seem to start peeling away, right? It
Mhm.
seems to be like it's okay if you're a pervert, but if you've got a thousand friends that are all high level individuals or politicians around the world, they ain't paying attention to it. So I completely agree with you, bro. I really do.
Yeah. And I think
I
it's
really
really sad, but you know, this is the world we live in. And to a certain degree, something I learned from Pam Bondi when she jumped up and started talking about the Dow, and I started doing research in why in the world, why would she say something like that? Because it was Epstein's victims standing right behind her, and she refused to look back and acknowledge that they even existed. And in my research, to a certain degree, people like Epstein look at especially women and children as cattle. So, to a certain degree, one of the
okay, yeah.
reasons why Pam Bondi did not look back and acknowledge the existence of the victims is mainly, in my mind, because they're cattle. It's kind of
Mhm.
like what they're supposed to be or do. They're
Yep.
supposed to, you know, do whatever. So it's kind of like you eating a hamburger and then looking back at a cow and like acknowledging the cow for eating the
That,
hamburger. You're
yeah,
like, hey,
that
that's your job. Your job is to turn into a hamburger. So to that world, the way they justify their actions is by looking at people as cattle. You're here for us to do things to you.
yeah, exactly that mindset that resonates through it all. I mean, we've seen we knew obviously 10 years ago about pizza, hot dogs. We've got grape soda now. We've seen the jerky. What aspects do you think of the Epstein case do you think are still not fully grasped by the public, in your opinion, if any?
Well, okay.
Okay.
Certain things that aren't necessarily grasps is
Okay.
see, the thing about it is it's hard for us to grasp all of this because I'm not going to say it's new to us, but it's now in our face, right? So for years, we've been seeing that Disney and Nickelodeon in the background had certain weird undertones of PDF file, things going on, right? So at some point, we already knew something was going on, especially in Hollywood. And Epstein, had his hand just in everything, not
Yeah.
just Hollywood. So it's nothing we didn't know, but now since it's in our face, it's kind of like we're forced to acknowledge the truth. And I think it's difficult for us to be face to face with the truth. Because as long as it's over there, we're like, maybe it's true and maybe it's not. But now it's in our faces, and then we're like, oh, wow, this is real. And that scares us to the point where we don't necessarily want to acknowledge that it's real. So the closer it gets to us, the more we're forced to acknowledge that it's real. And we don't want to do that because our confirmation bias is going to make us automatically think it's not real because we don't want it to be real.
Right.
We don't want to hear about PDF files and pedophilia. Like, it can't be real, right? And then you say to yourself, no, it's not real.
Well, this is the thing. I've been saying this for years. It's the same as when you put your hand over a flame, right? Your brain pulls your hand away. It's the conversational version of that.
Yeah.
And it's not even that. It's 3 million files of it, bro. Like this is the thing. Like, even just saying that number out loud it's overwhelming to think of trying to get through it all by yourself so that you can all fully understand it, right? And it seems to always be that politicians make decisions quickly, but when we want answers, the processes we have to go through take months and weeks. And do you feel like they're trying to push this into the realm of people not fully understanding the gravity of it all because they've not looked themselves, to make people be convinced that this was all a conspiracy in 5 years?
There's a lot of desensitive, like we're desensitized to a lot of these things. Like, I remember, just as an example, back when Britney Spears was a little girl. There was, and even Justin Bieber as a little boy, there was a lot of like situations where it would be somebody right in front of us on TV saying something about Britney Spears when she was young, or women kissing Justin Bieber like straight in the mouth when he was a kid, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think we're just so desensitized to all of this stuff where it's normal. And we don't want it to be normal because we don't want it to happen. So it's like one side of us is saying, this isn't right. I mean, this isn't true. It can't be true. And then the other side is the like side of us where we're not even aware that we see this as normal. It's like our subconscious sees it as normal.
Well, isn't it interesting, right? When you look at what's going on in history, especially with the woke movement and this trying to ram new ideologies and ways of thinking down people's mindsets. I witnessed for years before that the PDF files trying to normalize things by rebranding. So it was the AM or the MAP movement, adult attracted minor, or the minor attracted person, right?
Yeah.
PDFs, right? And that got traction, man. There was a lot of traction, and you started to see the mindset shift, especially in susceptible young minds, that this should be seen as the same as if you're heterosexual or homosexual or gay or straight, right? It should be, and these people should have rights and all of that. I don't want to live in that world, Aaron. Okay, that is a world I do not want to. I do not want to live in. And you're so right. And the normalization has been happening so much wider spread than you think. And do you think perhaps with the lack of arrests, okay, that have taken place in America and the lack of arrests that have taken place around the world, that what you've said about we're just going to assume that these people are like this, do you think that's so deep rooted into us now? Where's the hope for us being able to have faith in our leaders coming forward from this? What do you think it's going to take?
There is no hope for our leaders to do anything other than what they're doing now. It's almost like when you were a kid and you realize Santa Claus wasn't real, there was no going back. Once you realize Santa Claus was not real,
right?
There's no going back to Santa Claus being real. Because what happens is you start to look for confirmation that Santa Claus wasn't real. And you start to think like, oh, wow. So my parents are doing this. My parents did this. All this was what my parents did. Wow, that makes all the sense in the world. And then there's never a time when you start thinking Santa Claus is real. So now that we realize as adults, Santa Claus isn't real, i.e. the government is actually here to protect us and the government isn't these weirdo evil people, there's no going back. We're never going to see a day where we're going to trust the government. And I actually think the government wants us to see them as evil.
Well, it's interesting, Aaron. I just had a conversation with Gareth Ike, and he thinks that this is all purposely manufactured incompetence to make us beg to remove human error. We must usher in the AI to be able to govern us, because look at all the human error. Human error has to be taken out to save humanity. I didn't realize that until today, right? And it all just kind of went in my head. What's your take on that?
The government has always been strategic enough to keep things from us. So for everything to just be out in our faces, they did this on purpose. They're not dumb. One thing we can say about the government, they're not dumb. They're running like, it's not just America. The entire world is ran in, like, because if you just look at the wars are on purpose. They're going to war for different reasons. Nobody's sitting there saying like, hey, why are you bombing our city? No, they're having conversations in the background saying, okay, this is what we're going to do for this reason, right? Like, for example, I don't want to say the actual name, so I'm just going to say 9/12. I'm going to say 9/12.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
So 9/12 was fake.
Yep.
They did that on purpose in order to put together the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act. Yep. So they needed for something to happen for us to all look at a situation and say, oh my God, okay, you need more of our rights to be taken away from us. Okay, as long as you can protect us. So all of this stuff is strategically put in our faces in order to make us afraid. And the fear is going to cause us to give up more rights.
Yep.
I don't know how, what, why, and who, but it's strategically meant for us to be afraid enough to give them something.
Yep. I agree. They learned very, very quickly that we have to beg for the things we don't want. And that's what they make us do. They did it here, bro, with the 7/7 bombings, I think it was. Or someone can correct me in the side chat. And there was a woman in the street who was interviewed after the bombing, and this was her exact words: "We have to give up our liberties for freedom." What, mate? Those, for a start, liberties are freedom, okay, lady. But you can see how fear was used to manifest that mindset, and I think people are at a point now where there's too many of us that have clocked onto this. And I'm hoping that we're going to see that collective mindset manifest more, where we do push back and we do understand that governments have to listen to us. They don't show us that it's very likely. But
Yeah.
we've got the national digital ID card threat looming over
Mhm.
our heads in the UK.
Yeah.
We've got 13,000 people in prison for social media posts that people have found offensive here.
Yeah.
It's a bit mad, mate. It's a bit mad.
Yeah.
And do you think, with the war and everything that's going on just now, that we're seeing panic moves, or are we seeing strategic moves coming from these elite individuals?
Everything is strategic. I don't
Yeah.
think anything like, we can sit here and get mad at Trump going to war and, with Iran. All of this is done on purpose for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I don't think anything is done by mistake. Can somebody make a mistake? Yes, but altogether, something is meant for something else. So I think we're going to war with Iran in order to, kind of like what you just said, in order to add AI to our conscious instead of just it being out there. For whatever reason, after everything has been said and done after this war, they're going to come back and say, see, because of this, now we have to do this, whatever this is.
Yeah.
And then since it's like this, for example, say we're so against this war, it turns into where, how can we make it where we'll never go to war with another country again? Are y'all tired of going to war? Yeah, we're tired of going to war. Okay, well, AI will make it where nobody will ever go to war again.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can go one better.
What? We don't ever have to go to war? No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then we'll just do it.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing as well. If they convince us that the war was so bad, we've got to do away with countries then, right? It's got to be a one world government, right? If there's only one country, how can you be at war with another country?
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. Everything is on purpose. They're scaring us into wanting to do the next step. So they got to do this in order to scare us or make us tired of something, so we won't have a choice but to jump into this next thing.
100%. 100%. Now, look, just circling back, right? Yeah, at the cost of billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives. This is the problem, though. It's the meat grinder that we, the peasant level people, have to suffer with. So look, let's circle back. Let's just talk about justice for a minute, right? Because it seems like there is a clear and prevalent two-tiered system when it comes to these elites, and when it comes to even war crimes and things that go on there. Do you think that people are so used to elite celebrities getting light sentences or no sentencing at all that that's what they're hoping will continue for everyone to evade sentencing throughout the Epstein files?
In all honesty, the way I look at it is it's promoting us to want to become celebrities in order, so when we do something crazy, do something dumb, we can get away with it too. So it causes us to be envious of the people that can get away with this stuff, because as far as social media goes, within the last 2 years, especially because of TikTok, virtually anybody can be a celebrity. So even though we're not rich and powerful, we get that taste of being an influencer.
Yep.
Have somebody or millions of followers or millions of people look up to us, right? So it gives us that feeling, that metric of, oh my God, what if I can be the next so-and-so? So it puts you in a position where you're like, well, I want that type of preferential treatment also. So instead of saying, hey, lock this person up, they're like, well, maybe I can be that person and I won't get locked up when I do something dumb.
I mean, I agree with you. And it is creating this mindset, but it doesn't work that way. When, I've got a theory what you said about TikTok there as well, because
but it keeps working that way. If you are up here, nothing is going to happen to you. You're not going to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's the false mindset for the social media level influencer fame. That's the false pretense that they're led into, because the rules don't apply to them. And it's interesting that you mentioned TikTok, because I feel like they almost panicked with the YouTube format, and that's when things got a lot harder for things to get traction over YouTube, because I feel like they realized they were creating uncontrolled opinions that can earn millions of dollars. And when TikTok came out and people started blowing up on TikTok and people transitioned over there, the money wasn't there, but the ability to grow was there.
That's it.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Because people don't necessarily want money. They want attention. People are used to being broke. People are used to being poor. They don't know what it looks like to be rich. So in their minds, they're like, I'm never going to be rich. They want the influence. They want to feel like they are popular or famous. They don't need all the other metrics. They want to feel like they can get away with anything like somebody else can. But unbeknownst to them, it takes the money for the lawyers. It takes the money for this. It takes the money to pay their way out of things. So they're thinking that it's the influence. It's because we don't have influence to that degree. You need money to have influence, right? So all of this is just simple fake metrics to make somebody feel good about themselves. But at the end of the day, most of the people aren't rich. They just have a lot of followers, but it makes them feel like the next step is the money. But I agree. TikTok actually ruined the entire influencer economy, because at first, to be honest with you, and I'm going to add myself, it was just us. And then once TikTok came out years ago, everybody got millions of views. Everybody was this coach, or everybody was this person that everybody should listen to, and they'll just be laying around in the bed giving advice. I'm like, who is this dude? Who is this woman? And that kind of like, it changed everything.
It really has. And you have to, again, look at everything that took place with the TikTok and the China and the USA deleting it and Trump and all of this. It creates another wave of people going to these platforms, and that whole thing was suspicious for me as well. But we'll move on to the next point. What do you think moving forward we need to demand? Is it like mandatory changes to the system that handled the Epstein files? Do you think that we need to see people pressing for change so that we can try and secure this sort of thing not being able to happen again? And I mean the Epstein files, the 9/11s, all the conspiracy and massive government cover-up. What's your take?
I'm just going to give you the real answer, because I could give you the fake answer, but I'm going to give you the real answer. We don't control anything. We don't have control over anything. Voting, like, I don't vote for presidents because they're not looking to us. Like, vote, in my opinion, voting is the way, because you got to register to vote and things like that, right? And then when you do vote, you're on record as voting for this person, right? So to me, voting is simply data farming. We don't have control over anything. It's simply farming data to see like what the American people want and what they don't want. So all of this, to be honest with you, it's all somebody in the chat said illusionary. Yeah, it's all an illusion. We don't own anything. We don't control anything. You can buy a house and pay it off. You still got to pay property taxes. Why? Because you don't own the house. So we don't control anything. We don't own anything. So because with me, I'm waking up and I'm realizing that this is just how life is. And it is, so we can demand anything we want. I'm not going to say we don't have any type of influence as people, because I think social media in particular is what got Diddy put in prison, as an example. So small things we can grab control of and change the narrative, because everything in life is about narrative. Either, like for example, two countries going at war with each other. Both countries think that they're in the right? So the narrative this country has is we're right and we're fighting for this. This country says the narrative is we're right and we're fighting for this, and they're fighting. So there's a narrative on both sides, and in most cases, both sides always think they're right. And we as a population can control the narrative and how things look and how things are supposed to be. right? So we do have some control, but altogether we don't have that much. So we can demand for whatever it is that we want, but the majority of the things are going to happen whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I agree. This is a long time plan, and especially the systems that are in place. It's not all by accident.
Right.
Now, let's sort of segue into Erika Kirk, right?
Okay.
Because I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say. And Aaron, Mr. Let Go, all of his links are in the description, of course, but you've covered this quite extensively. So anyone who wants the real in-depth, like mega fest, head over there. But give us the kind of breakdown of some of the things you found, and kind of give us an overview of your narrative across your content on this.
Okay. With Charlie Kirk, because this is really a Charlie Kirk thing and not an Erika Kirk thing.
Yeah.
Erika Kirk just turned out to be this evil villain or whatever. But in my opinion, I think Charlie Kirk may, because I'm not exactly sure yet, may have been the actual evil villain and not just Erika Kirk, because we choose like the mates. We choose who we are, right? The woman that I choose is going to be somewhat like me. Some people may say opposites attract. That's just opposite personalities. But there's a pattern in how we operate, and the people we bring in our lives are usually the same type of people as us, right? So I can't necessarily just look at Erika Kirk and say Charlie Kirk was a victim of Erika Kirk, and Erika had all this power, and Charlie was this innocent victim. Charlie Kirk was running Turning Point USA since he was 18 years old. Erika Kirk came into his life when he was, I believe, 30 or 29. He was doing a lot of debauchery along with Tyler Boyer way before Erika Kirk was even thought of, right? So that's the first thing I just want people to at least pay attention to. So Erika Kirk, I think, is a terrible human being, but I think he picked the terrible human being to be with because there's a terrible human being in him somewhere. I think he did a lot of good, but I think somewhere inside he was somewhat of a terrible human being also. So that's the first thing.
Okay. But is that guilt by association that you're saying there after you've seen the aftermath of his death and what his wife was really like?
Yes, that's guilt by association. So everything we see with Erika Kirk, because I think she's a very evil psychopath. But because of that, I think that would mean, I would say, Charlie Kirk was somewhat an evil psychopath himself. Because you may not notice there's someone on his board of advisors that is famous for devil worship.
Okay.
And Erika Kirk didn't pick that person.
I mean, Erika Kirk's got a very interesting past. There's a lot of stuff coming out about Romanian orphanages. And I don't know if I agree with you necessarily on your take with Charlie, but I can understand your steps that you come to that conclusion. What's your take? I mean, do you think that people who say that she's a handler, she was chosen, she was, groomed and then brought in to be with Charlie, when we see the amount of princes and princesses that are connected to Epstein that have then gotten married to after they've been associated with Epstein, do you think that could be a possibility where she was chosen and created for the Charlie character?
Yes. And it kind of like goes back to what I was saying. And just to put something out there, you don't think that Charlie knew what she was doing, or at least something about what she was doing when she was in Romania at 17? She's older than him, right? So he's a grown man living his life, running this company, right? And he meets this beautiful woman that Tyler Boyer, like you said, introduced them two together, because that's kind of like how powerful people, get put together. Somebody is going to bring the other person to the other person, right? That's kind of like how rich families do. And Erika Kirk herself has never on record, has never on record dated a man that was not powerful. Virtually every man that she publicly dated was a multimillionaire, whether he was a football player, actor, race car driver, a basketball player, or whatever, right? So this is just kind of like what she does, right? And
Okay.
to a certain degree, she was paired up with another powerful man. And with a powerful man, to just put accountability on Charlie Kirk, a powerful man has to sit back and just say, okay, let me make sure this woman is on the up and up. So we know so much about Romanian angels, and we're just normal everyday people. There's no way in this world when Charlie Kirk, at least a year in, you know, when the dust started settling, somebody, because he's rich and powerful, somebody didn't at least go to him and say, hey, I just found out something about Erika you might want to look into. She was involved with this Romanian orphanage, and Colonel Busher was her BFF, and he was this 50-year-old colonel, and she was 17. Why is a 17-year-old best friends with a 50-year-old man? This looks like some Epstein type of stuff. So I'm not telling you anything about your girlfriend, not wife, girlfriend, but you might want to look into this. He's rich and powerful. Somebody had to tell him this, and he had to look at this and say, oh, she's my type of girl then. She's with this crazy stuff. Me and Tyler Boyer is with crazy stuff too. So she's right up my alley, and that's just my opinion. So
I'm with you. I mean,
powerful cannot just get flim-flammed by some random chick that, remember, that knows the president of the United States. She's not just some innocent girl. She knew Trump. She knew Trump better than Charlie did.
Yeah. Do you think though, right, with Charlie at the time of his life when he met Erika, he was kind of preaching and primed for meeting his wife, his love of his life.
Yes.
Do you think there could have been an aspect where Charlie missed all of this because of the love bombing, because of what was stood before him and all of this, the blue eyes and the eyelashes batting at him? Because in Charlie's eyes, I would imagine he would have seen everything that was the next step for his life and also his career, right? And I think, you know, I'm not saying that your opinion is off, but I'm just saying I think that there's more power than we give credit to for women when they're weaponized against an individual. You can be blinded by that woman in front of you, and I think that's a possibility too.
That definitely is a possibility.
Yeah,
and let's stay with that possibility though, right?
Okay. All right, let's go. All right, okay.
Say she came in and just swept him off his feet, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. At some point, he would have woken up. We're men. We wake up. Like, we don't stay asleep through the whole time. At some point, we wake up, right? And at that point, going with your deduction,
yep,
that might be when he sold his house, took her off of the will, and possibly was about to divorce her. And then all of a sudden, she started panicking. She went to her daddy, Trump, or went to her daddy, BB, because she knew both of them, and said, oh my God, he's about to divorce me. He took me off the will. I might not be able to, finish the plan that you guys are setting for me. What do I do? And her daddy was just like, oh, don't worry about it, baby. I'll take care of it. Not saying her actual biological daddy, but the person that sent her to him, right?
Yeah.
And they said, okay, well, the cat is out of the bag. He's starting to ramble and talk about all this stuff. He's starting to tell, talk about the Epstein files, stop going up against Iran. Like, Charlie Kirk really started talking against the person that he put in office, right?
That's
so next thing you know, they were like, we'll take care of him. And then bop, Get them out of here. So that is a definite possibility. I think she ran to her proverbial daddy, and her daddy got rid of him because the gig was up. He woke up. Because, like I said, at some point, we men are going to wake up.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of a different narrative to see what your take was on that. And I don't think you're wrong. And I think it's one of those stories where even the Charlie Kirk unaliving, it seemed so perfectly put together as if they knew how the internet would react. There was a flash over here. There was an official story that isn't unbelievable. Then we've got a guy whose trousers fall down. Then we've got a guy screaming that it was me. Then we've got a drone theory. Then with this, it is the gold mine of internet conspiracy theory cases. Oh, and don't forget that if you've been unalived, I fully expect them to concrete over where it's happened within days and all the evidence to be gone, right? It was a smorgasbord of this, that, or the next thing. The bullet velocity, the noise, it was unreal.
Yeah.
That really stunk to me of massive preparation. And for me, massive preparation has to come with government involvement at this stage. And I believe that if it was the country in question that we all know we're talking about here, they would be using a tiny drone, man. It would be a drone that would come in, fire one round, and the conspiracy would unfold. How much orchestration do you think was purposely placed within Charlie Kirk's assassination to throw everyone off and have us arguing and divided?
So I'm a little on the fence with this because everything was in front of our face so much where you can easily look at it and say, okay, they wanted us to see how, because you said this was carefully orchestrated, right? To me, it looked like a bunch of bumbling idiots not knowing what to do, right? But they could have made it look like that in order for us to have our conspiracy theories, because
of course,
here's what's going on with the conspiracy theory mindset. Pull people in a position where there's so many conspiracy theories where we can cancel ourselves out because there's so many conspiracy theories where we're just conspiracy theorists.
Right.
Because like you said, it was so many different things and we just ate it up. And us eating it up and us saying, oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? What about that? What about this ourselves out of the lineup where it looked like we're crazy and we're lunatics instead of them being crazy and lunatics. It's kind of like back in the day when we watched Kung Fu and there was this drunken type of thing where somebody's like this, next thing you know, you get close to him, blah, right? And you think the guy is drunk, but he's kind of like not drunk and he's able to like floor around and trick you off of your way of you fighting because he's this. So sometimes things can look so bad and so dumb where we can end up looking dumb by actually thinking what's actually happening is dumb, but it's actually orchestrated to look dumb to make us look dumb.
Oh yeah, us eating it down with a spoon is definitely taking the bait and us falling into their trap. What do you think? If I was to say to you, what's the one thing you feel like you need to scream in people's faces because they're missing about the Erika Kirk situation, Charlie Kirk situation? What is the biggest point that you feel like people just are not getting when it comes to this?
The one thing I would say is that you have to do extensive background checks on a man or the woman that you're dating, because you have no idea who that man or woman is, and that man or woman can literally get you killed. Because at the end of the day, to be honest with you, that's what it looks like what happened. He chose the wrong woman. And like I said, I don't think she did it. But I think she made some calls because he started flailing out of control, and the gig was up because it was all a plan, which I agree with you on. And when the gig was up, he had to go. And at that particular point, it was too late for him because he woke up. So I think if he would have woken up way earlier before he would have gotten married to her, or before, because here's something a lot of people don't know. Turning Point USA was not making a lot of money before Erika Kirk. Erika Kirk came in and started adding her mother, who is the CEO of Easy Tech, E2 Tech, or something like that. I forgot the name of the company, and her company was working with IHOP. I like to use IHOP. I don't like to use the country that starts with an I, so I use the IHOPians. So her company was working with the Iron Dome, which is falling apart over there in IHOP. So they started making a lot of money for Turning Point USA once she got connected to Charlie Kirk, right? So right then and there would have gave Charlie Kirk an understanding of who is this woman, and start doing some digging then. But for whatever reason, he didn't. He stayed with her and just enjoyed the money flowing in. So I would say, no matter who you are, because back in the day, it used to be like that. Mm-hmm. You get with a woman, I got to bring my woman to my family. And my family would do background checks on this woman to make sure she's not floozy, make sure she's not all over the place or whatever, to find out who her parents are, to find her last name. Is her family worthy of me? Or either when you're a woman, you bring your guy to your dad and they do background checks on the guy. So at the end of the day, we have to look at this whole situation and say, your life depends on the person that you decide to marry.
Listen, that's just good advice. All right, that's just good advice on the board. At this point, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. There's a link down in the description for all of Aaron's socials and whatnot. Now, I guess, how do you feel like mainstream media and people on social media have been covering Erika Kirk's situation? Obviously, Candace has went like nuclear over the last week. Have you been following all of that? What's your take on that? And if we're going to talk specifically about Candace, what was your take on the behind closed doors meeting?
I love what Candace is doing, and I love what she was doing. I've been watching Candace for like a good 10 years. So Candace actually came from the relationship space just like I did. She used to talk about single motherhood, the Black community, things like that. So I love like just how she's grown. So I appreciate just seeing her grow into who she actually is. But the thing about it is, Charlie Kirk was her best friend, and Erika Kirk is most likely the person that put a wedge between her relationship with Charlie. And that, I'm sure, hurt in itself. But then for him to get murdered hurt even more. And I think in the beginning, she knew something was going on, because she said it herself. Charlie Kirk started operating in a way that was so different than how he used to act. And it all came from Erika Kirk. Because when he got with Erika Kirk, like I told you, they started making more money and they started integrating more things. And he kind of like pushed her away. And Candace Owens probably started looking into things, and she may have been one of the people that was warning Charlie Kirk about Erika Kirk. So it could have been Candace that warned him. And, you know, like you said, sometimes we get smitten about a woman or smitten about a situation, and we start ignoring our friends. You push the friend away, and next thing you know, you're in a bad situation, probably not dead like Charlie, but in a bad divorce, or losing the house, or you can't see your kids anymore, you know? So Candace, I think, really was a good friend, and she did everything she could to protect Charlie from himself. And after he died, she's doing everything she can to protect his legacy. Because in all honesty, Erika Kirk and all of her minions are trying to change his legacy. So she's not protecting it. She's trying to rewrite his legacy. So shout out to Candace for just like being so much of a good friend where she's trying to retain this man's legacy. That's huge.
Yeah. And when we talk about Charlie's legacy, I think there was a lot of, like I say, quite a vivid, like a strong reaction to the events that took place after Charlie's passing, the massive event that took place, everything with the leather pants and the hands on the back of JD Vance's heads and the hugs and all of this. It seemed, it was like one of those feelings when you were watching it, you were like, oh, I understand what I'm watching because a lot of people love Charlie Kirk, right? Mm-hmm. And then as soon as anything happened on the stage, that's when everything got confusing for me, right? Like I understood the event, I understood the gathering of it all, but I felt like it was, I mean, they're selling it as a show of strength from Erika to stand there and show forgiveness and it felt like we were like, let's just get this rushed along, please. Can we get this rushed along, please? We need to get on with business. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I think Erika Kirk was simply a groupie, and her leather pants and her flirtatious mannerisms has always been there. Did you see Erika Kirk in that music video?
Yes.
Like she was super. She got, you know, she's the country girl with the shorts on with a little halter top that sits in your car and takes her shoes off, and she doesn't have any socks on, and she got her feet up on your up on the thing, and she's just sitting back chilling. You know, if you want to have sex, we can just go in the back seat. She was that type of girl. And we've seen it with multiple men because a lot of her life is on social media. She was flirting with one guy, a totally different guy than the guy that she was in the video with, doing all that flirtation stuff with. She was like pulling his shirt down, trying to get him to show his nipples on camera. It was like, you got to show some, sex sells. So virtually everything I've seen from her past, she's this type of woman. And it's the reason why, just as a man, I have to look at the man, Charlie Kirk, and not look at her, because I don't look at people when they decide to be with somebody and decide to do this and decide to marry a person, and the person turns out to be a terrible person. I have to look at the picker of the person and not the person. So it's so evident, not just the Romanian angel stuff, but the music video. And then it was a video where it was a guy and her and a guy, and then he literally started talking like Charlie Kirk, and she said, "Oh my God, you're talking like the Charlie dude," and they're laughing. So it's like they were making fun of Charlie Kirk before she even met Charlie Kirk, and all he had to do was do a little bit of typing. And because that's all we did as a community, and he would have found it.
Do you think that they used Charlie's devotion to faith against him by having this blind faith in Erika Kirk?
No, and it kind of like goes back to me to my earlier point. I actually believe that the phrase "turning point USA" is a Luciferian name in itself.
All right. Okay.
And so that's one thing. And he kept changing his faith. So he didn't have any faith. He was all over the freaking place.
All right. Okay.
Like it's so many different situations where he's doing this and then saying this, like he was all over the place. He was, when he was going to the schools, he was saying stuff that was pissing people off. And it was getting a lot of engagement, but at the end of the day, he was all over the place. So what was his faith, and how long did he stay with it until he adopted another faith? He was over there humping the wall, and we all know what that means. And next thing you know, he's speaking against the wall. And I'm glad he did that, but he spent 7 years humping the wall. And now he's Martin Luther King because for 3 months he's talking against the wall, but for 7-8 years he's humping it.
Yeah.
So he's all over the place. That's what I'm saying. I think Turning Point USA in itself is a Luciferian word. Turning point means going the other way. So if you're so faith-based, why do you want to go the other way? And what is the other way, Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, okay. I hear your point, man. I hear your take is valid. All right. Let me just switch back to elites for a second and the global agenda, right? Do you see any weak points across the puppets that we see? Do you see anyone who's getting set up to fall? Or do you think that we're being led into a global war? More of these countries are going to join the Iran battle. Are we going to see the president not step down because we're in a global conflict? What do you think the tactic is overall? But also, do you think we're seeing any? Do you think anyone is going to fall first? Anyway, the loose links in the chain. Sorry.
As far as the war, or as far as just overall everything?
Yeah, the first part. Overall, do you see any weak links in the chain? And then, second of all, the war, brother. Sorry.
I'm gonna make a prediction.
All right.
In 6 days, Donald Trump is going to have a press conference, and he's going to come out and say, "The war is over. We come." And United States and Iran has come to a deal, and it's a great deal. It's actually the most amazing deal in history. And it's all because of me, because I'm the best president ever. And when you hear about this deal and see this deal, you'll see that it's the best deal in the world. And everybody's going to be happy. And we won. We put them to their knees, and now it's over. And now we can go back to normal. And it's literally going to be him conceding, but he's going to posture in front of all of us like he actually made somebody do something. And even though we're losing this war, out of nowhere, he's going to say he won. And guess what? Iran is going to be okay with it, because Iran doesn't care. Iran isn't here to win. They're just here to stop them from fighting, because they don't want to be a part. They just want to go back to normal. They don't want all this. So if he was to go and say, "Hey, we're going to back off. You can have whatever it is you want. I'm sorry. The only thing I want you to do is stay quiet on why I'm conceding." They're going to say, "I don't care. Whatever. I don't care." It's not like Iran is just going to do a podcast and start talking about stuff. They don't care. They just want to go back to normal. And that's what's going to happen in the next 6 days. Donald Trump is going to do a press conference and lie about it being some type of deal between America and Iran. It's going to be a total lie. And the reporters are going to try to ask anybody from Iran, and they're going to say, "Yeah, it was a deal." And that's going to be it. And it's going to be over.
Man, I mean, we'll wait and see. I'll definitely fire you some comments in your comment section if that all turns out to be true, Aaron, and we'll see what comes from it. So when it comes to do you believe that we've got these puppets that are put in place? Nothing is in our power. Voting means nothing. So who do you think is behind it all in your mind?
The Rothschilds, Vanguard,
Bloodlines.
Yeah, those companies they run the music industry. They run the news. Like, there is proof that the majority of the news agencies are saying the same thing. I could play you some right now that would show you that news agencies are presently saying the same thing if you want to, like right now. So they own everything.
Yeah.
And that's why they hate us so much, because we're not owned by them. So overall, we're the biggest enemy. But yeah, the news agencies are saying the same thing over and over again. I can play it right now if you want me to.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, I mean, as long as we're in YouTube terms and service and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
It's nothing crazy. It's no music. All right, so check this out.
Okay.
They are all lying to you, and here is your proof. Be right back.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes. Well, we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers. We may have to deal with that in the short term. Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain. Short-term pain. We have to focus on the short-term.
Short-term.
Short-term, 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 and long-term.
That's wild. I mean, I take it that's multiple news outlets all just saying the same thing, right? Wow.
And it would have it went like 30 seconds longer than that.
Yeah, no, you can continue playing it, brother. Absolutely. I was just reframing everything.
It's literally the same thing. Short term, long term, it's the same thing. So that's just kind of like more proof that one, the Rothschilds, the vanguards of the world, they own everything. They own the news, they own TV, they own Disney, they own the food supply, they own the water supply, they own everything. So when you just look at things where you're like, wow, I can't believe they said this, you'll probably see the same thing somewhere else over there, because it's all connected and it's all controlled,
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's easier to control all the narratives and let us argue amongst each other with the false impression of difference of opinion just based off of where you're consuming your information from. And like you've just proven there, a little bit of digging will show we're all being handed the same opinions and we're all being handed the same information. It's just repackaged to continue dividing us.
And it's two packages. It's two packages. Yep. Democrat, Republican, and Crip and Blood. Remember, the most famous two gangs, right? One is black. I mean, one is red and the other is blue. Just like Democrat and Republican, red and blue, is the same thing. It's just controlled opposition. Like, there has to be the opposite of the person in order for people to feel like they have a choice. So some people pick red, some people pick blue. But it's the same thing with the Crips and Bloods. It's just being a part of the gang. The Crips think they're doing the right thing, and the Bloods think they're doing the right thing. The Democrats think they're doing the right thing. The Republicans think they're doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, it's just control opposition. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
The gang members just want to run around shoot people and take territory. Because think about this: gang members are literally doing the same thing the countries are doing. They're fighting over turf in order to get more like they want more turf in order to have more leverage over the opposition, right? The same thing with what the countries are doing. So what's the difference between red blood versus a Republican trying to start a war with Iran? It's the same thing as a Crip trying to start a turf war with. It's all the same thing. It's all about turf and leverage.
The scaling up of the criminal pyramid.
Yes.
Of course, instead of it being turf wars for substance sales, it's turf war for taxable individuals and control of commodities, control of oil, control of it all.
And substance sales.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
And substance sales.
Yeah, we've got that.
How do you think the substances are getting to the gang members from? Yeah. So it's also substance sales. It's literally the same thing. The dope game or the
in fact, go one step further.
Fed by the countries.
Yeah, we can go one step further. Any form of illegal transportation, guns, substances, people, children, all of that. Yeah, all of that. We'll lump it all in the one place. 100%.
Because the pimps are doing the trafficking of the girls, just like the older people in the Epsteins of the world are doing the trafficking of the girls. It's the same thing. The drug dealers and the pimps are doing the same things as the politicians and the countries. Same thing.
Yeah.
Girls and drugs and turf and leverage.
You've nailed
That's
it.
what life is all about right there. Girls, drugs, turf, and leverage.
That's what makes the elitist globe turn.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Aaron, this has been a great conversation. And listen, can you tell people what you've got coming up, what you're working on, and what they can expect from you next?
Thank you for actually just having me on here. That's the first thing. I want to thank you before I
you're
start
welcome.
talking about myself. I want to talk about you guys. And I've been watching you guys for, I would say, about a couple years, especially during the Diddy, when the Diddy coverage. You guys did some amazing coverage with the Diddy trial, and that's kind of like when I really started watching you guys. So first, I want to give flowers to you guys before I give flowers to myself. So shout out to you guys. But all together, I have a card game that I have been helping mothers and daughters work together with. It's called Like Mother, Like Daughter, and you can go to deeperdiscussions.com to get your card game. And this is therapy in a box, because remember, I come from the relationship space, not the political space. But what I started to realize when we've been, just watching all this war coverage, where the same actual war is in our own households with the mother and the daughter. If anybody's watching, whether you're a woman or a man, mothers and daughters, for whatever reason, usually can't stand each other. So the same type of war that we're talking about with the Crips and Bloods or with Iran and America usually goes on in our own households. So I like to put myself in a position where I can help people fix their households, fix the war in their households before we start worrying about the war outside of our households. So that's why I came up with this amazing card game. There's 100 cards in this card game, and there's a card deck for the mother, and there's a card deck for the daughter also. So the mother and the daughter are on equal playing fields, so they can have great intimate conversations with each other, because a lot of mothers would not want their daughter just asking them a whole bunch of questions. Why did my daddy leave? Why this? Why that? Why did this work? Why did that not work? That would be jolting. But you as a mother can ask the same type of questions to your daughter, and that will put both of you guys in a position where nobody feels attacked and everybody actually feels loved, and you can have a fun time having a therapeutic game to play with.
That's a great idea. A lot of positive response in the chat there. And your links are down in the description, mate. And like I say, thank you so much, Aaron. And make sure you like and subscribe. Go and check out Aaron's content covering Erika Kirk and all other subjects. But thank you so much, mate. And I look forward to doing this again and seeing what else we can come up with, Manji. Thank you so much.
Yes. I appreciate you having me. Talk to you later.
Take it easy, brother. Thank you.